What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the spiritual wisdom inside of Star Wars. If you haven't been around that long, I mean, even if you've been around since like the day I started my YouTube channel, you probably wouldn't necessarily know this about me, but I have like a huge nerd aspect to myself. Like I mean, if you saw the video, I think from last week, I talked about, I used in a Pokemon analogy to break down the masculine and feminine dynamics within our dual reality. And so today I just want to talk about, probably going to expand on that kind of stuff a little bit more. We're going to use it through the lens of Star Wars. And I'm just going to pull about 5 or maybe 6 really deep, intrinsic spiritual lessons, like spiritual wisdom from the Star Wars saga. Or, is it a saga? I'm talking about all 9 films in essence here. Like, we're going to talk about all 9 of them. And it could even branch out to the spin-off stuff. Like if we really want to get into it about Obi-Wan. So like if you like Star Wars and you're deeply spiritual, like we can start bridging gaps here. And I love doing that kind of thing. So I'm probably going to continue with this kind of video series moving forward too, because this is a lot of fun for me. So we're going to talk about that. Spiritual wisdom from Star Wars. Cheers, y'all. So the first one, and we're just going to start with like one of the biggest concepts in the Star Wars movies, and that is the Force. I just get so excited about this because there's just so many cool, like I like learning about, I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita right now. It's my second time reading it. I've read the Bible a few times. I like studying Tantra. I like studying all these different cultures and these different religions and spiritual practices and teachings. But I love seeing it come through, like that, those lessons come through in movies. And the storytelling unfolding in movies is so transferable to life. We just have to be able to extract the movie and even television aspect of the production out of the story itself. And hopefully that point will make a little bit more sense in a moment here. I am by no means a TV or movie critic either, by the way. I'm just a guy who likes studying psychology, spirituality, and I love like Star Wars, Pokemon, Avatar: The Last Airbender, superhero stuff, Marvel, DC, all the things. So again, starting with the Force itself. And in the Force, there's the light and the dark, right? There's the Jedi Order, there's the Sith. This is such a beautiful reflection of the very real aspect of what they call in Chinese medicine qi, or what they call in like more Eastern philosophy prana, or what we just call here more in the West spirit. It is the ever-flowing life force energy that is animating you, your body, everything in existence. And every single aspect of existence has light and dark qualities, has masculine and feminine qualities, has, yin yang, all these different dual aspects of just existence. And the Force is such a beautiful example of that. Because within the Force, there is the Jedi and the Sith. And it's just like, well, if God is almighty and all creating, and the Force is almighty and all creating, why does it create evil? And it's like, we need that cohesion to balance the scales. Without evil, there would be no good. And without the contrast of what evil or like the Sith is, we never fully will understand what it means to be a good person, to be like the truest, most authentic version of ourselves that is kind and is genuine and is compassionate. You know what I mean? they become manipulated by Palpatine, and then inevitably overthrown, destroyed. They succumb to the dark side in essence, not literal, because like Yoda is still pure and he's still Yoda, and Obi-Wan is still Obi-Wan in the original trilogy when we meet him for the first time in episode 4. But in essence, what the Jedi stood for diminishes, because they went too far and they got too involved in what they, quote, shouldn't have. Because they went away from what they're about. They're about peacekeeping, not about fighting for political gain. And they become a part of that. So the Jedi, the good side of the Force, kind of diminishes and the Sith overtakes them. Hence what we see in episodes 4 through 6. So, there's a balance that needs to take place between Jedi, Sith, light, dark, masculine and feminine aspects, all these different ways we can describe the dual qualities of life. The next one is a lesson that Yoda teaches. I'm pretty sure this is a pretty famous one. He teaches in episode 5, I think, in Empire, where he says, do or do not, there is no try. And I love this because it really does speak to unwavering commitment to your cause. And now, for anybody who's new here, I generally speaking talk to men, but this can apply to men and women alike. Most people comment on my post saying like, oh, well, this applies to everybody. Like, I know. And I'm here to guide and facilitate the healing process for men, not for everybody. And so this stuff totally does apply to everybody, but I'm going to speak more towards men. But it really does speak to like the commitment to your mission. Because when you're committed to your mission and you're choosing embodiment over intellectual understanding, embodiment being it becomes who you are, rather than intellectual understanding where it only lives in the mind, it doesn't actually live in the body. When you're committed to your mission, there is no trying. There is either you're doing it and you may do it afraid, you may do it terrified, you may do it and you're like shaking, but you do it. Versus when you try, it implies that there's an opportunity. You're giving yourself a scapegoat. You're giving yourself an exit strategy. Well, you can be like, oh, well, I tried and it wasn't for me, right? And that is valid if something isn't truly aligned to you, where you're just exploring the world. You're younger, you know what I mean? Like when kids are young, they're going to try a bunch of things, right? And even if we never fully experience psychological maturation, then trying new things is a part of the game. You could be 35, you can be 85, you can be 5. It's still a part of the game because your mind hasn't fully matured in the way that it's supposed to, so that you know what your innate, authentic mission is. But when you find it, there is no trying. You either do it or you don't. It doesn't matter what shows up when you do it. You can be afraid. You may have to summon an immense amount of courage, right? You may need someone to kind of like help you out along the way. You may need to ask for help. Whatever it is that you have to aid you in the pursuit of doing it, it'll be there. There is no trying. And this is what it means to take unwavering commitment to make an unwavering commitment to your mission. And Yoda not only does he embody it, he is the physical embodiment in Star Wars form of the Jedi Order, right? Because even in the episode 5 arc where he's training Luke in the Dagobah system, I think that's what it's called. For Star Wars fans, I apologize if I fucking ain't this the lore of Star Wars up at all. But when during that training arc with Luke, he literally shows what it means to embody the Jedi Order, not just talk about it, not just understand it intellectually. Even in the episode, I think it's episode 8, The Last Jedi, when Yoda appears, I'm getting chills. When Yoda appears again, he even says he's the one who burns the information because it doesn't matter unless you live it. And Luke had become so consumed with learning the information instead of living the Jedi Order that he abandoned it completely. Right? That's why Rey had to come and get him and be like, yo, dude, hello, we need you. So do or do not, there is no try. I love that. Because especially when you are living authentically aligned to your soul, yourself, and you're on your mission, even if resistance shows up, even if fears show up, even if you are faced with attachments, you do the thing anyway because it's aligned to you, and that's a part of your path. And even mentioning attachment leads me to my next point here, and that is like the fall of Anakin Skywalker in the prequels. Now, say what you want about the prequels. I personally do enjoy the films, but say what you want. The overarching story being told in the prequels is phenomenal. Just being told through the lens of Anakin. He's the chosen one, right? So he's meant to bring order or balance, I think is what they said, balance to the Force. And because he has all these egoic attachments to his family, to love, to all these different things, he forgoes his innate purpose and becomes evil. Now, there's a bigger argument to be made that, like, you know, maybe he was meant to do that because then Luke brings order, and maybe they were just like, they were seeing past Anakin, and Luke was always the chosen one. Like, you know, whatever you want to believe there, but like, based off of the information told in the films, he was literally explicitly stated as the chosen one. But because he becomes consumed by his attachments to the external world, which Jedi are recommended to forego, he, again, like a more spiritual like translation, he's attached to his egoic structures. He becomes consumed with rage and anger and all of these like survival emotion centers. And I'm not saying they're bad by any stretch. There's a duality in it all that we have to learn to work with. But because he becomes so consumed by them, he ends up veering the opposite way, becoming a Sith Lord instead. And he doesn't bring balance to anything. And so what we can translate this to is when we become so consumed by our ego and all of its attachments, and we hold on to those so tightly, then we will forgo our own purpose, and life will feel meaningless at times. It will feel empty. We become so consumed with what the ego needs to stay safe and stay small and stay, in essence, stuck. I mean, your physical reality may change in perception. You may get the better job. You may, start a business, but you're still moving from the same emotional energy of the wounded boy within. And that's what I'm talking about here, because when Anakin made his decisions at the end of episode 3, he was moving from the energy of the boy in episode 1. He wasn't moving from like the embodied version of Obi-Wan's energy in Anakin form. And so the fall of Anakin is a beautiful representation of egoic attachment and how we can become so consumed by that we forgo our own purpose. We forgo our own mission, and life ceases to have any meaning or purpose, or it feels empty. So the next one is Luke killing Vader. Now, there's one more point after that kind of encapsulates a lot of this, Luke not killing Vader. Luke not killing Vader. And this is just such a beautiful representation of one honoring their own truth rather than the external noise or the external chatter of the world around them. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Obi-Wan in episode 6 in Return of the Jedi, he tells Luke that he's going to have to, I don't know if he explicitly states kill Vader, but he's going to have to end him in essence. And Yoda, while he doesn't explicitly state that Luke is going to have to kill Vader, he does tell Luke that he's going to be forced to face Vader. And because Vader is, in their eyes, beyond redemption. I mean, at this point, now when you're watching it in 1983, you don't know this yet, but now when we watch it, we know that Obi-Wan and Yoda experienced the world where Anakin literally slays the younglings and the Padawans and all of the Jedi Order. He partakes in that. So in episode 6, we know that they experienced that now. And so in their eyes, in the eyes of the Resistance, everybody sees Vader as beyond redemption, but Luke doesn't see that. And that is like, I'm getting the chills again, because that is pure love. in its rawest form. His father may have fucked up. His father may have done evil things. He might have killed a lot of people, but he still sees the good in him. And he forgoes the noise of the outside world. Even when Palpatine tells him to kill Vader, to consume him in the dark side, he doesn't. He honors his own truth. And that is that he knows his father still has good in him. And so he honors his truth over the noise or the truth of the outside world, where and rightfully so, right? Like in Obi-Wan's eyes, he's beyond redemption. He killed all the younglings, right? He tried to kill him. And then when we see the Obi-Wan show, like he's facing them again. And Obi-Wan even admits that he's beyond redemption at that point, right? So that's where we start to tie the spin-off shows in. Because there's just like so much lore into it now. It's so cool. Yoda, he witnessed the slaying of the younglings, the Padawans, the Jedi Order. That he had to bear that pain, and he even says it at the end of Episode 3. He's brought great shame to himself, and he has to go into exile. The resistance, like, everybody wants him to kill Vader, but he's like, nah, I'm not doing that because I see he's beyond redemption, and it pays off, right? When you honor your truth, and the last part here. Even if it makes you uncomfortable, too, by the way. Honoring your truth, even when, okay, not if, when it makes you uncomfortable, because it will. Now, the last point here is the overarching theme in just about all of the Star Wars trilogies. And it's really cool now that I'm saying this out loud, because all three trilogies have a different spin on this, and that is the hero's journey. The hero's journey, I think, was coined by Joseph Campbell, if I'm not mistaken. And there's a whole thing about it. There's a whole spiel to it, so if you're curious about it, a lot of heroic journeys are kind of in film and TV are based off the hero's journey, but of course it takes on different adaptations in each one. So like the hero's journey of Tony Stark versus Steve Rogers versus Luke versus Rey versus Anakin, right? Because in the original trilogy, the prequels, Anakin's is kind of like the rise and fall type of thing. Like we see the fall of the hero. In the original trilogy, we see the initiation into heroism. And the same thing can be said about what's her face, Rey, as well, but they take a different spin on it because it's more modernized. It's less of like a mythical storytelling approach, and more of they modernize her trauma to what a lot of people can relate to in today's world. But in each one of them, there's an initiation into the hero's journey, and with Anakin, he's faced with what to do as far as trusting the Jedi or trusting the Sith, and he goes the opposite way. So the fall of the hero. Luke is faced with the shadow of his father's. He's faced with the shadow of his father, right? His father's mistakes become his. There's a Bible quote. I'm gonna fuck it up right now, but the sins of the father are bestowed upon the son. Totally messed that up, but I think you guys will understand where I'm going with this. In essence, when parents don't heal their emotional trauma, we have to bear it on as their children, specifically men from their fathers. They inherit their father's patterns, and so now it becomes your responsibility, if you so choose. If you want to transcend the egoic attachments, of course, if you so choose, to heal the wounds that your father never did. And so that's Luke's journey. Now with Rey, her shadow is hoping that her parents will come back one day, and holding out this hopeless romantic side of her that she already knows deep down is never going to happen. And then she starts to learn about the truth and all these different things. Each one of them are confronted with different aspects of their shadows, right? When it comes to Anakin, we have his attachment to his family, to love. So he goes and kills all those creatures because they hurt his mother. And then he kills all the younglings, and it just goes on and on and on with him. And with Luke, he's faced with the shadow of his father. It's shown in the scene on the Dagobah system where he sees the cracked mask and he sees himself inside the mask, right? That his father is his shadow. And for men specifically, this is where the idea of the metaphor of killing the father comes into play. The metaphor of killing the father, because I say a metaphor because I don't mean you literally have to kill your father, but you have to kill the idea. And kill is a really large word. You have to release. You have to let go of. You have to surrender to the idea of your father's shadow and realize that it's not you. And that's what Luke did, which is why he was able to not be consumed by the dark side and then continue the pattern of killing by killing Vader. and he spared his life. Instead, he showed him compassion. Now, this is a very drastic version of what many of us experience, but in a man's journey specifically, there will come a time where he'll have to confront the father. He'll have to confront his father. Or if your father's not around, you'll have to confront a father figure. And that might be your mom. You know what I mean? And what it looks like for everybody is vastly different. But in a man's own internal hero's journey, he will have to confront his shadows. He will have to metaphorically kill the father. And this goes for women too, who feel like a very deep calling to serve the world. Probably in other ways too that I'm unfamiliar and ignorant to. But the hero's journey at large, we all have it playing out within us at all times. It's just a matter of, do we want to grab the pen and start writing it, or do we want to let other people continue to tell our story for us? And I just think Star Wars is such a beautiful representation of the hero's journey, because there's not just one version of it. You know, there's three different aspects of it. When we talk about Anakin, we talk about Luke, and then we talk about Rey. And like personal opinions on which films are your favorite aside, like they're all told in a beautifully different way that illustrate the same concept, but the different iterations of it. And like my journey of embodying the hero and inevitably cultivating the warrior archetype within my own psyche is always going to look different than yours. And that's why like these films can help us understand our own journey so much if we're able to separate out what is film and TV versus what is like the overarching story. Like if we're not so enmeshed with other people's trauma, then we can see, or other people's emotions, we'll be able to see the truth in the story itself. So we won't think that Tony Stark's story is what we have to go through, where we're going to have to get captured and tortured and almost killed in the process. Like no, like our stories are gonna look different. Our culture is way different. Our world is way different. We're not living in a world with demigods and superheroes and the real and like an actual force with lightsabers. Although that would be fucking dope. In reality, we're not living that life. So we have to find out what those meanings translate to in our own life. So I'm gonna wrap it up there, y'all. I hope you all took something from this. Like I really like talking about like the innate wisdom or spiritual lessons, if you will, psychological lessons as well. So in my personal opinion, that like spirituality and psychology have a blend to them. So it's more of like a psycho-spiritual component, that there's so much beauty and so many lessons to be learned from films, that if we can extract the essence of the story without becoming entangled with what's just film and writing, we can learn so much from literally anything we consume. Well, maybe not anything, because like there are some things that are just bad. You know, like when they first made the first Avatar, that last Airbender live action film, that was just, it wasn't good. And I don't say that about a lot of films. So that's it. That's all, y'all. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's video, if you took anything from it, like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube algorithm things. If you're a man who's interested in working with me one-on-one, if you want to just join my email letter, you want to book a one-on-one call with me, or you want to commit more to our mentorship community, all the links will be down below. Do the things, like, comment, blah, blah, blah. And that's it. That's all, y'all. Peace out.